Yes, Ravi, I would be taking you through how to prepare for your interview. I would take everyone through that.
All right, Arjun. So, shall we begin?
Yes, we are about
Great.
60 and counting, and absolutely delighted to be here.
All right. So, a big welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And I promise you that when you stay towards the end of the webinar, you will be able to know everything that is there to know about cracking interviews. And towards the end of the webinar, we also have a surprise for you. So, make sure that you do stick around till the end. And to begin, I'm going to be introducing Arjun Khanna, our expert for today. Arjun is a part of EDCA's India leadership team as Vice President Client Engagement. Arjun has about 20 plus years of experience in consulting, business, human resources, and entrepreneurship. In his previous consulting avatars, he has worked with A.T. Kearney, Aon Hewitt, Mercer, KPMG, and all such big names. In his last assignment, Arjun has actually served the HR head for India's national skilling body, which is NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. So, as I'm sure all of you must have understood by now, there is no better person right here amongst us to tell us all about tracking interviews and what is it that HRs look for, what is it that managers look for when they're hiring the right candidate for themselves. So, yeah, over to Arjun, and I will just begin sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Brinda, for a very warm welcome. I'm looking forward to our interaction today. We will have a series of, we'll be going through a series of the presentation, and that will be followed by a Q&A. And as Brinda has promised, there is a surprise towards the end of the entire presentation. So do stay on.
Right. So, Arjun, I think a couple of questions that really come to mind whenever someone's actually just beginning their interview preparation is how does one really begin, right? Because this entire process can seem really overwhelming. There's so much information available on the internet, you don't even know where to start from. And what is that one place that you feel that everyone should really begin their interview preparation journey?
Great question. I think, Brinda, there's so much to search from outside. I think the first step is to search within. You have to really start from yourself. What is it that you're really good at? And what is it that you can bring as value to all the people around you, add to the community? So let's take a few examples. If you look at it, Bill Gates and Elon Musk were absolutely brilliant engineers, and they knew that they had that skill and they played to those strengths. We all know that Steve Jobs was brilliant at design. He had excellent design sense and therefore came out with some of the most beautiful products. He didn't know how to code though. And therefore he played to that strength. If you look at Jeff Bezos, he had very, very strong business acumen, and that's what he did. And he played to that strength. So the first thing that you've got to do is search within. And that's a process which requires you to sit down with yourself and ask the question, who am I and what do I really like to do? It's not a question which you can answer in 5 minutes. It's normally a process which takes a few weeks where you sit down and actually go through that journey. And sometimes that journey is a bit painful to actually get to the right answer. But once you get to it, then you are very focused and know exactly what you want. Now, let's say, take for example, what you're seeing up on screen. If as a person, one enjoyed technology, one liked innovating, liked meeting people, wanted to travel, then consulting is a brilliant role for you. Okay, if you like technology, you like traveling, you like creativity, the media is a great place because you can do all of that. If there's helping people, fighting corruption, things like that you want to do, then there's law or journalism that you want to take up. Some people are really good at numbers, and the opportunities are immense these days. So you could be doing things like accounts, big data, machine learning, and lots of very interesting things around that. So therefore, the process that you really want to go through is figuring out what am I good at, and it's often not one thing that you're good at. often good at multiple things, and you've just got to stitch them together and say, where does this all come together so that I can really apply for a job.
Right, right. Thank you so much for explaining that, Arjun. So, from what I've understood, is that one really needs to build that level of self awareness to understand where do their strengths lie, and then do the research to understand what kind of roles will be available that map to their strengths. So, next question then being, picking up from that, then as freshers, right, or as someone who has, say, a few couple of years of work experience as well, a lot of people tend to take up roles in traditional jobs, right? Whether that's starting in a BPO, that may be any other, like say, finance jobs. So, what kind of jobs should one actually be looking in today's day and age? Should as starting in traditional jobs the right way to go about for freshers?
All right. Great question again, Brinda. I think the one thing that's important to look at is that what is the industry looking at right now? And what is the future holding for us? Very often these days, what we're seeing around, thanks to COVID, there have been a number of jobs which people have lost. And apart from that, automation has also cut down a number of opportunities that people have. But on the contrary, I'd say there's been an abundance of jobs which have gotten created. Now, I'm going to share a little story which happened very recently, and it wasn't actually a fresher, it was a person with a lot of experience. And he came to me and he says, I've been a banker for almost 30 years, and I am actually looking for jobs in banking. So here's how the conversation went. And I said, great, nice that you're looking for jobs in banking, but you know what? The banking industry per se is really undergoing massive change. And do you really want to look at only banks as a profession because there's so many other opportunities? So the question was that, okay, what are those other opportunities? And I said, okay, so you bring a certain skill set. Okay, now let's take that skill set and map that and add a certain technology layer on it, and you create a new job. So he said, okay, how does that go? So I said, okay, let's take what you were really good at. He says SME banking, which is small and medium enterprises banking. So I said, okay, within that, there is things like cash management, there's trade finance. I said, let's just pick up cash management within that. And now let's add a layer of artificial intelligence onto it. And if you had cash management plus artificial intelligence, it will create a new opportunity which another company may be doing. Now, if someone mentioned blockchain, so what if you had cash management and blockchain? You'd be creating a new opportunity. So, like that, if you actually go down that path and you just add a layer of a technology and couple that with the job, you actually creating a new job and a new possibility. And very often there are companies out there which are offering those jobs, and therefore one's got to look in places which are not so obvious. So that's what I told him. I said, expand your horizon and do not look for things in traditional places. So I said, look for example, in banking there are certain repeatable jobs. Anything which is process driven and can be repeated can be done by machines these days. And you have a technology, and I was hoping someone would actually mention it. RPA, robotic process automation, is one such technology which can take a lot of repetitive jobs and actually make it into a process which the computer can execute. And I said, the moment you're able to use that in technology, you actually can apply to companies which have robotic process automation, for example. So I said, the places that you got to look is beyond the obvious. Do not look at just banking. You should look at ancillaries like fintech or blockchain companies, because that's really where the future lies. Now, if I was to actually look at the screen, and if you read the screen from left to right, on the left side you have all human related activities which humans do far better than machines. So leading, empathizing, where connecting with people, judging. These are mostly with the frontal cortex of your brain, and most of your other part of your brain has been mapped by a number of things that the machine can do. Anything which is repetitive, which sits on the right side of this continuum, you're seeing machine only activity. So transactional, iterative jobs, predictive jobs, wherever machines do it far better than humans do. But there are places where humans and machines, if they collaborate, you'd be able to do 10x, right? So let's just take a very simple example. Someone just mentioned that I'm in HR, and what is it that I can do? So if I was in HR, and let's say, for example, I was in recruitment, I would actually use AI to shortlist the number of people that want to apply. And one of the things which takes the longest time is actually doing that shortlisting. So the moment AI is able to assist me and says, okay, here's the job description, here's the people, and can you help me rank all the people that who are applying, I'd be able to interview far faster and probably have 10x as results. So you've got to look beyond the obvious, and there's an abundance of tons of jobs. And I'm going to share some ideas and places on where you can look going ahead.
Right, Arjun. Thanks for explaining it so beautifully. The disruption that technology and emerging technologies are actually causing, and even traditional industries. And I think the good news is that this in no way means that we're at a short of jobs. It only means that there's an abundance of jobs. And we have so much more that we can actually do by collaborating, by collaborating with machines and humans. And another good news actually is that the government of India has recognized this and has actually brought together a platform which is called FutureSkills Prime, that will help all Indians upskill on such emerging technologies. Now, why is it that we should actually be upskilling on emerging technologies? Because a simple Google search will tell everyone here the amount of jobs that are actually upcoming in the coming years in the ITS sector. And to be able to bridge that gap, to be able to be eligible to apply for those jobs, one needs to build certain skills, and those skills can be built right here on this platform, which is FutureSkills Prime, which is brought to you by the Government of India and by nasscom. So once you log into FutureSkills Prime, now if some of you have not yet logged into FutureSkills Prime and have received an invite, make sure that you go to that invite on your inbox, and you will be able to see the process there about how you should be signing up. Ensure that you follow those processes. Once you do, you will reach this page, which is our homepage. And by scrolling down, you will see certain emerging technologies. Now, say I may be interested in big data analytics. So I will click on big data analytics, and I will see that there are multiple pathways, and then there are certain courses on big data analytics. And you will see this something says eligible for GOI incentive. Now, what does this really mean? What eligible for GOI incentive means is that the government will actually send the money back into your bank account once you have completed your certification on certain courses, which are eligible for GOI incentive. Now, say that this course can build you a great foundation on big data. It can get you certified by SSC nasscom through its assessment, and once you have completed it, you will actually, if you're eligible, one of the eligible users, you will actually get that money back into your bank account. So if you want to know more about it, definitely come on the platform. We'd really encourage that, and read up more on the GUI incentives and on the hundreds of courses, hundreds of content types that are actually available on our platform. Now, going back, Arjun, thank you for explaining this to us. And I think the next question that a lot of us actually may have will be that say in the 1700s, there was research that said in the 1700s there were about 400 types of jobs that were available in India. In the current date, we have more than 100,000 types of jobs available. So even after someone maps their strength, say they understand where their interest also lies, how is it that they then go about finding the right kind of job for themselves?
Excellent. So one of the things that you've got to really look at is look at the industry that you're interested in, and then I would urge you to actually do a lot of research on that industry and see what's the future of that industry. There are enough and more free reports, articles which are mentioned that where is that industry headed and what are the opportunities which lie there. There are some industries which are going to grow very, very fast, and there's some industries which are going to be impacted by all these technologies and automation which is coming in. So therefore, you've got to be very mindful in the way you actually apply and look for the right industry. Now, within the industry, you've then got to zoom in and look at which is the sector which really interests you. So let's say health and wellness was one of them, and within that there would be a sector called beauty, right? And then you say, okay, that's a sector. Can I use beauty plus some technology which could be AR VR, for example? It can be used in lots of ways to create new opportunities. Okay, and then you'd say, okay, are there any companies doing something like that? So then we are going to share that where will you find such companies, okay? And then the next step that you do is actually do a lot of research and say, within this sector, which are the companies I need to really look at? And then once you've said, okay, this is what I was interested in, therefore you know really what you were looking for, you actually go and look for the roles which are there with the company, which may or may not be advertised. And I've had people writing into me very often when there is a role which is not advertised, but someone came in with a very interesting proposition, and we created that opportunity for them. So then look at and do a deep dive in the role. Now it's very, very important that you do research on the company and the person that you're going to be interviewing with. So since we do have a number of students on this call, I would urge you to look at LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is where professionals network. It's like a Facebook, but for professionals. And that's where you can actually find out a lot about the person. Where did he study or she study, and where did they work, and what did they do? And those could be really starting points in your conversation when you're meeting the person for the interview. It makes a ton of difference if the person comes into the interview and says, I've done research about your company, and this is what I know about the company and about the role, and therefore they've done that study, and then probably just very subtly even drop that the research that they've done on the person. Also, it just shows that the person is very diligent, has been proactive, has cared to find out. I'll just share with you a number of people who apply these days do a spray and pray. Okay, spray and pray really means that I'm going to just apply everywhere and hope something's going to happen. So I ask you to do just the opposite. I said, I'd say that just think that you have to apply in only 5 places, and you should be able to convert in one of those five. So as a practice earlier, what I used to do, I used to just print 3 CVs, and just ensure that I prepare myself so well. I'm so focused that I manage converting within those 3 CVs, right? And that's what I'd urge even the youngsters to do. That focus and narrow down really where is it that you want to go, and you should see success.
Right, right. So, thanks for explaining that, Arjun. The fact that our research actually can show the interviewer the level of interest that we have in the organization, and that is definitely a plus point when it comes to interviews. So, Arjun, like you've mentioned a couple of times now, that where does one go and look for jobs, and that is something that I know that you're going to share with us. But before that, maybe let's open it up to our audience. That where is it that usually people are looking for jobs, and whether or not they're doing the right thing. So I would encourage everyone to go to the chat box and share with us. Where is it that you guys look for jobs currently?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the answers which are coming in.
Arjun, are you able to view the chat box?
Yes, I am. So people
Okay,
are
okay.
Naukri, career sites, Indeed, Internshala, career sites. Okay, uh, Monster.com, career section of companies, LinkedIn. I'm glad to see so many people writing LinkedIn. Okay, placement cell of college. I've seen Telegram come up a few times. Interesting. Uh, yes, yes. So LinkedIn seems to be right on top, right? And nice to see that people are talking about alternative. places to look as well. All right. Okay, this list is pretty good, but let's share some more ideas. Maybe a couple of more. Okay, so I think the first one's being spoken about, Naukri and job portals is one of them. Uh, One of the job portals which is brilliant for future tech is Angel.co. There are over 100,000 futuristic companies out there which are offering jobs, and you'll be able to find jobs on AI, big data, cloud computing, all of those there from all over the world. And you can search for jobs in India as well. Do keep in mind that these days a number of companies are offering the opportunity to do remote working, and that's something which you should definitely consider exploring. And sometimes it's not obviously stated, but if you apply and then you realize that when you have a further conversation that remote working may be possible, so do give it a shot. That's one unusual place. A lot of people don't know about it, but I'd really like you to look. The second tile that we've got up ahead is the career section of companies. So what companies are doing these days is that they want to ensure that they maximize the number of candidates, and the best talent pool really comes in. So not only do they put it on their career site, which are often powered by artificial intelligence, because the applicant tracking system has artificial intelligence sitting behind it. Um, then they also put that on LinkedIn, they put it on Naukri, and a ton of other places so that for example, someone mentioned Indeed, and very true, Indeed is one of the places where jobs get aggregated, and that's where companies share their jobs as well. And of course, platforms such as LinkedIn is, and I think I don't need to stress on that anymore because most people have talked about it already. LinkedIn is the other obvious choice.
Right. So Arjun, as we could see actually from the responses that we got from the chatbot, that everyone, at least mostly, people on this call itself knew about these portals, except for maybe Angel.co, which means that all of the thousands and lakhs of people who apply for jobs will probably apply through these portals. But what is it that one should really do to, then make their profile stand out? Whether that's, from a perspective that how does one get through the screening process through the AI, and once they've gone through the screening process, how is it that their profile stands out to the recruiter? So, how do you really build your story in such a way, and how do you stand out from the crowd?
All right, so I'm going to actually ask everyone a question. How long do you think a CV is looked at? And I want the answer in seconds. How many seconds is a CV normally looked at? 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Okay, how long is a CV normally looked at is the question. Okay, so the answer is between 4 and 5 seconds, right? So between 4 and 5 seconds, you need to stand out, right? And the thousands of applicants for various jobs, right? And you've got to figure out how do you stand out. Now, pretty much everyone who applies, I'd say 98% of people just have a text resume these days. Okay. But these days, people are experimenting with design, and we'll show you some, nice looking CVs as well. Uh, that's one. Second is that when you write your cover letter should talk about yourself, your story, and please ensure that you talk about yourself, the company, its values, and how you would add value to the job. Very often during interviews, sometimes people talk about, this is what I would learn from your company when I join. Very frankly, you've got to flip that and say, this is the value that I would add to your company, and therefore you'll make really the biggest mistake if you don't take me for to the company. The other thing that you should be very cognizant of is please do not use SMS English. A very, very, very high percentage of people actually apply. using SMS English. That's an absolute no-no. Please do not send your CVs through WhatsApp, and your entire personal story should be very well written out, because that's your story which you want to tell others. You're marketing yourself. Please do not send in your CV says which says please process my CV. Okay, I've seen that coming in very often, because if, let's say for example, you received a CV which says please process my CV, even you won't know what to do with it, because it doesn't talk about what the person wants to do, what the person's wanting to apply for, or what are their strengths. And sometimes you don't know which job you're applying for. That's also perfectly okay. Then tell your story in the cover letter, that this is why I want to apply. And please, please, please run a spell check before you send in that email. And of course, as I said, you should have really beautifully designed CVs. And I'm going to tell you a story. Um, okay, would you want to go for that first, and then I'll tell the story?
Okay, sure. So these are just, like Arjun mentioned, that he's going to be showing us some examples of CVs that are really well designed, right? So this is a CV of a biology major. So as you can see, their accomplishments are right here. Then they have their work experience mentioned, their education background. It's a one page CV that actually looks really well designed. So this is something that a recruiter would probably want to look at, rather than something that's maybe not that well designed. And here we have another one.
If I may just, if you could
Yeah.
just back to that one, I'd like to just emphasize on one thing. When people write about what they've done, please start with an action verb, and therefore the sentence about what they've done in the past, it should go as interacted, led, and then what outcome did that lead to. So please do write full sentences, but start with an action verb, and then talk about impact that role had. So so that's something that I would urge you to do.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Arjun. And action words are very easily available on the internet. So a quick Google search about action words for CV is something that should really be able to, kind of help you. And just after this, actually, we'll be actually taking you through a process of how to write a winning CV. So yeah, just wait around for that. And this is another example of a very well structured and well written CV that we have here.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to actually the government helping us with the government and NASSCOM helping us with upskilling ourselves on future technologies, they also understand the importance of interviews, right? And because obviously once you've upskilled, you need to be able to land yourself a job that is of your dreams. And for that, Future Skills Prime also has something called as the interview mantra group. Now, the interview mantra group, okay, so there we have a QR code here. So if everyone could scan this QR code, they would actually be able to reach to the interview mantra group.
Could
I
you
will
just
also be, yeah, I'll also put a link on the chat board. Right, so on the chat box here,
So while you do that, I'm going to tell that interesting story which I was talking about.
right.
So, so once I was heading HR in a apparel company, and someone was applying for a designer role. And it's very interesting how I got this CV. It came very nicely packed, and when I opened it, it was a T-shirt, and the T-shirt had the entire resume written on it, and the tag had the person's photograph with their name and their contact details. I found that so fascinating. I think the person was hired even before the person walked in, and that's what you really got to do. You've got to really stand out. And if a CV is being looked at for 4 seconds, what are the chances that your CV will be looked at very seriously? All right. Back to
Thank you
you.
so much for sharing that story, that anecdote, Arjun. Did everyone get access to the link? I'm just going to paste it again in case it got lost. And we'd encourage everyone to open this link, and I will be sharing my screen again. Right. So we here have something called as The interview mantra group. Now, the interview mantra group is designed as your one stop shop to prepare and crack any interview that you would possibly need to take now or in the future. We have multiple pathways here. Now, what are pathways? Pathways are essentially a collection of smart cards, and pathways in about just 30 minutes are able to explain to you what is it that you really need to do relate to the topic. So for example, if we have a pathway on creating a winning CV, the pathway will be able to help you understand all of that in just 30 minutes. And these pathways are actually designed by experts, by subject matter experts who have curated all of this information from the internet and gotten it for you. So all the unnecessary things on the internet are out, and this is the only place where you actually need to look at. Now, for the surprise, towards the end of this pathway, after completing it, you actually earn a badge. So as you can see, there's a small image of a badge here that says creating a winning CV. Now, these badges are actually shareable on social media. You can share these badges on LinkedIn, and as some of you already know, the importance of sharing of LinkedIn and of creating your professional network as such. And maybe Arjun can help us understand that how do sharing badges actually help us create our profile on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think the first and most important thing as far as badges is concerned is building, you know, building credibility on LinkedIn. And the moment you start sharing multiple times, people begin to identify you. Oh, this person seeming to learn AI, and he's seeming or she's seeming to, learn blockchain, and this is happening, and then people begin to take interest in your profile. And if you're going to have interesting uh, badges being put up every now and then, there's a very, very high likelihood that recruiters will begin to take your profile far more seriously as compared to anybody else. So I strongly urge you to earn badges and share it.
Right. Thanks, Arjun. And just for everyone's benefit, pathways are free of cost. So you don't need to pay for them, and you can actually learn all of this content for free. So has everyone reached this page right now, or if anyone is facing any issues? Okay, I don't see anything on the. Okay, so everyone's here. Great. Now I would encourage everyone that you would possibly see a start button somewhere here. Since I've already completed this pathway, I cannot see it, but I'm sure all of you will see a start button here. Or what you can do is you can straight away go on to the first smart card. Now, when you go to the first smart card, you can see that by the end of this pathway, you will be able to identify the elements that make a CV impressive and identify the key mistakes that one should avoid while creating a CV. Now, when you're on this card, in all probability, you will be seeing this as a blue button here. Ensure that you click on this button so that your card is marked as complete. Once this button turns into green, that means you have already completed this card and you can move to the next one. Now, moving to the next card, we see that we have a video right here. And I would encourage everyone to watch this video. I will also be playing it right now. In today's video, I wanted to talk about. Is it audible to everyone? All right. So I'll be playing this video for a couple of seconds since we don't have that much time, but just so everyone kind of gets a hang of how this works. About the 5 things recruiters look for in your resume so that it would help you create a great credential for your future employers to get in touch with you. Right. So as you could tell that this video is actually talking about 5 things that recruiters look at in a resume. And I would encourage all of you to go watch this at your own time. Now, when you go on next, you can click on this button. Here we have another video about how to write a CV. So this will give you details about how one should be really writing their CV to get noticed by employers. So you can watch this video for a few.
A strong CV is your gateway to success when job hunting. It's the very first impression that an employer will have of you.
Right. So as Arjun also shared that this is the first impression. It's only looked at for a few seconds. So everyone must, go through this video. Then when you click on, is everyone with me right now? Have you all completed this card as well? If anyone is facing any issues, please write it in the chat box. Yeah, I'm just going to look at the chat box for a quick second. No issues. Please paste link. Okay, I'm just going to paste the link once again. Okay, I have shared the link again. Can't hear you. Arjun, I'm unable to hear you. Okay, maybe something's.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people were facing issues with the password. What you should just do is reset your password if you don't remember it. So right up on the sign up screen, there is an option to say go to forgot password and just click on that, and then you'll be able to put in your email ID and you'll get a link, right?
Right. I'm just going to give everyone just a minute to probably get there, just maybe a few seconds, and then we can continue. For everyone's benefit, again, all you need to do is you need to come on this interview mantra group, which I did send the link for, and we are on the pathway creating a winning CV. And we were on this video right here, which is smart card number 3 out of the 6. All right, now moving forward, and if someone is thinking they'll probably do it later, I would really encourage you to do this right now, because towards the end of this, you do earn a shareable badge. And if you're facing any issues, we can probably help you out with it right on the screen. So yeah, I'd encourage everyone to start this pathway at this moment.
Yeah, so the question which is coming, Brinda, is that how do we get those batches? I think a lot of people are very excited. What you do need to do is actually complete a pathway, answer the questions, and you earn a badge. It's very simple. It takes only half an hour to complete really one pathway, and you'll be able to earn a badge.
Right, right. So all you need to do is complete this pathway, what we're doing right now on this call. And if we do it all together, it can become super easy, which it already is. But like I said, if you have any questions, you can actually drop them on the chat box right now.
Yes, it is.
So,
It is free. So one of the questions which is coming is it free? Yes, of course it is free.
right, right. Okay, so we go to the next one. So now this one is a smart card which has a link attached to it. All you need to do is click on view more, and you would see the link that has come on, that you have been redirected to. Here is a free resume guide featuring amazing tips and examples for CVs. So this is something that you can actually read through at your own time. And coming back, um, yeah, coming back. And now again, all you need to do is click on this arrow here to go to the next card. After completing each card, one thing that you should all keep in mind is that this box here should be complete, right? So if I click on it, it'll again become incomplete. So you have to make sure that it's always in this green. As soon as you see it in green, it means it has been completed and you can move forward. Now here is another video. So I have already watched this video, which is why it's completed. So I'm going to move forward. Right, now towards the end of each pathway, there is a short quiz to actually check your knowledge. You have to answer all 5 questions. It's all right, even if you get a certain answers incorrect. This is only for you to understand, or how well you've understood certain concepts. So as you can see, I have already taken this quiz, but I'm just still going to answer this again. Okay, so why is it necessary to format your CV? You want to make sure you're clear and professional and it should be easy to read. What do recruiters look for in a resume? Key skills, position titles, company, academics, co-curricular activities, maybe not so much. Let's see. What are the hard skills that your CV should focus on? So I'm just going to mark everything that I think is relevant. And yeah, and I'm now going to submit it. So as you can see, I have submitted my quiz and I got all of them correct. Even if you get some incorrect, that's not an issue. You will still be able to earn your badge. Now, once you've reached here, all you need to do is ensure that you click on Pathway Home. And once you've actually gone on Pathway Home, all of you would be able to see a pop-up. I had already completed this pathway, hence it's showing here. But to just cross-check if you've actually you've earned your badge, you can go to your profile icon here, click on your profile, and you can see that I have certain badges that I have earned, right? So these are some of the badges that I have earned now on different pathways. Now to be able to share them, all you need to do is click here, share on LinkedIn, and your LinkedIn profile would open and you would be able to share your badge from there. So like I said, it's super easy and I hope everyone has completed their pathway and earned their badge. You can tell us on the chat box if you have earned your badge. Okay, I think people have started to do that. We'll just give everyone a few more minutes.
Nishant, just for everyone's benefit, given I have seen your request, but given that we have people from all India, a lot of people may not be able to understand if we're talking in Hindi. So therefore, we, we are presenting in English.
All right, so how many of you have actually earned your badge? Why don't you tell us?
So there's somebody out here who says he's already got 175 badges. Someone's on 60,
Wow,
and I've got two, four. Fantastic. I think it's important that you start posting them and sharing them on LinkedIn. It's important that you let the world know that you're learning something new and you have a lot more to offer to people.
right.
Yes.
All right. I think we do have a few minutes for questions, and there are some people I think who do have certain questions. So we can probably move to that. All right. So if anyone has questions, please post them on the chat box. We will be looking at questions on the chat box. So, yes,
Yeah.
we have one question here.
One
What's the
question.
reason?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one question which has come in is that what's the reason why there are, my CV gets rejected, or so it's very important that when you're applying, you actually apply very diligently. You actually, so remember, it is not a process where you got to take things personally, because for every job there are minimum about 100 to 1,000 applications which come in. So sometimes you only get to the first 100 and one's not even gotten to the rest of them before the interview process is over. So it's not about you always. It's about the luck has a very important factor to play out here. So it's important that you present yourself. Your CV is very well written. It's beautifully designed. You write your cover letter properly. You reach out to the right people. Okay, I think one thing that I had planned to share was that how do you get to the right people? A lot of people want to know how to get to the right people. Who is it that I can send my CV to so that it's read? So, of course, while you are applying to a company and you're applying through the career site, there is an applicant tracking system through which you apply. But in addition, now what do you do in places which don't have applicant tracking systems? Very often, a startup does not have an applicant tracking system, right? So, in that place, what do you do? So there are tools like Lusha, Lusha. There are tools like Clearbit, which you can install as add-ins. And when you go to LinkedIn, you are actually able to see those people's email IDs and sometimes even phone numbers. And then you can even write to those people directly, so that you are able to reach the right person. In a startup, I urge you to reach out to the founder, because you're able to form that connect immediately, and take the process forward.
Right. Right. Thanks, Arjun. And we have another question on actually certifications on completing courses on Future Skills Prime. Adit, yes, certain courses do give you certifications, completion certifications, and in addition to that, we also have SSC NASSCOM certifications that you can get after completing and clearing assessments. All details are mentioned on the specific course, so I would encourage you to explore all the content available and then go ahead and get certified. We have another question which says, what kind of common mistakes do students make while being in technical interview rounds?
Yeah, so when I think it's very important of how we come across during the interview. So let's start from the very beginning. Number one, you should be very well turned out and dressed. So I'm going to tell you some very simple things, but you'd be surprised if I tell you almost 50-60% of the people don't do it. Okay, so uh, come with a nicely ironed outfit and clean absolutely. As you walk into the room, you should look up and look confident. Okay, you should always have a couple of copies of your CV, and they should be printed very well. So that's something which, because sometimes you're not always looking at a digital CV, and some if a CV is printed very well, you end up standing out, because you have an opportunity of how you even hand your CV across is very important. So some people hand it with one hand, some people hand it otherwise. I've seen people even pushing it across the table. I'd urge you to just hold it with two hands, and then hand it over like that. And then please ensure that you maintain a smiling posture throughout the interview. Now, interestingly, whatever I'm telling you right now is also an interview mantra. So there are other pathways which you can go and complete, which will walk you through this entire process. There's somebody who's been asking that, my English is not so good, so what do I do? Well, communication is also one of the channels which you can go through, and you see how important it is to communicate well when in an interview.
Right. There's another question on how to tackle questions on experience. So when people are switching from one industry to another, or there's even a question that says, "What do you talk about in an interview if you're a fresher?" So how does one really build upon their previous experience, whether they're a fresher or coming in from a different industry?
Right. So I'm going to share a couple of anecdotes of how people have gone about it. So the first thing that really got to do is tell your story. And whenever I end up asking youngsters, tell me about yourself, they normally start with, this is where I've studied and this is the college I've been to, and then they stop there. Uh, this question, as an opening question, has a room for so many possibilities. I've had people walk in and say, let me tell you my story. I come from very humble beginnings. I come from a small town, and my life has been that A, he comes from a small town, but he's got a fire in his belly to actually stand out and do things which are exciting, and has made the effort to actually approach the company. The other thing that is very important to do is try to marry your strengths with the company's values. So if you're able to bring that right up front in the conversation, it makes it even more engaging, because then that I have this is me, this is my story, and please do not start from college. Go all the way back, right from childhood, and say these are certain experiences which have shaped me. Okay, and these are certain important things which matter to me. These are values which are very important for me. These are my values, these are your company values. I see a very strong connect between the two of them. Very, very, very often people do not read about company values when they walk into an interview, and it's so important for you to do that, right? Because then it shows that you've really made the effort of understanding what are the sort of people that they hire. So that opening question is just like I said, your resume is looked at for 4 seconds. Often impressions are formed in the first 30 seconds. And therefore, you want to really create that right impression and therefore do the right thing.
Right. Thank you for those insights, Arjun. And we'll probably just take one or two questions more. So someone's asking that after graduation, what kind of certifications or internships should I do that increase the value on my resume? What kind of maybe online certifications that may be available, and what kind of online certifications, I think, may also be the right kind of question, because there is so much that is available right now. So how does one find those credible certifications that we can pick up?
Okay. So the good thing is that this platform offers it all, right? So we've got industry-backed, government-approved certifications. The curriculum has been approved by the government, and this has all these certifications which have been put together are really best in class. You've got certification from Microsoft, from Cisco, from Salesforce, and these are companies which are really hiring, right? So you want to look at certain certifications and say, okay, this is a technology which interests me. What is the certification which I will get at the end of it? Look at yourself. What have you done in the past? How do you marry the two stories together? It's very important. Again, I'd say do not look at a certification and say, then how will I get a job? Look at a certification and say, does it really marry with my interests? And then how will I take the next step?
Right, right. So just one more question I think we can take up, which is about LinkedIn. How do we really utilize LinkedIn, and how do we keep our profile highlighted and be on the top of searches? And what is it that we should do to make our LinkedIn profile stand out?
Super question. I think in as far as LinkedIn is concerned, LinkedIn is really uh, that place where you need to put out everything that you've done. Now, please ensure that you fill out all the different sections in LinkedIn. Very often, I found people just put out one line of where they've worked, which doesn't say very much about what they've done. So it's very important where have they worked and what have they done, right? And do a nice profile section in the beginning. Please put a good photograph of yourself, which is right up there. And it's important that you very, very important that you marry all the facts that you have on your CV with your LinkedIn. So these days, a lot of recruiters, what they do is after they've seen your CV, they do go and check your LinkedIn profile. And sometimes if there's a mismatch, you won't get hired.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Arjun. I think these are the only questions that we can take for now, since we're almost on time. I think three key takeaways from this session would definitely be building your personal story and highlighting your CV, doing the right kind of certifications and courses that make you stand out and make you ready for a specific jobs, which all of you can find on FutureSkills Prime, from free courses, from free pathways, free courses, and even assessments that you can then get reimbursed from the government if you're eligible. And lastly, it would definitely be doing your research on the company, right? Doing the research on the company, on the individual. And once you have all of this, I know there were a lot of questions that were around, how do I explain a gap in my CV? How do I explain a switch in an industry? As long as you're able to explain your personal story, just like Arjun mentioned to us, as long as you're convinced about why you want to do the next thing, you will be able to explain that to the person in front of you as well. So the point is for you to take out that kind of time, build it out for yourselves, rehearse it, also practice, practice as much as you can, and then step out into the world of interviews, in the world of jobs, and crack interviews. There were a lot of questions on where do I find this course for this technology, that technology, I'm sure a lot of those courses you will be able to find on FutureSkills Prime. So do look, explore the page. There is so much content that is available in different forms, whether that's smart cards, pathways, courses. So that is something that we encourage you to definitely do. And a big thank you to Arjun for coming in for this session. Very quickly, just I'm going to be launching a poll. If everyone could just, answer this right here. How satisfied are you with the webinar 5 being the highest? Okay, just give it about 30 seconds more. Most people are at a 4 and 5. Thank you so much. We're glad that you enjoyed this webinar, and we definitely have many more webinars coming in. FutureSkills Prime continues to organize such and more webinars for all of our learners. So yeah, okay, I'm going to be ending the poll now. Thank you so much, everyone. If we hope that we were able to answer most of your questions. If you have any more more questions that you feel were not answered right now, please go to FutureSkills Prime, check out the interview mantra group, and we encourage you to complete all pathways, and definitely you will be ready for your next interview and many more to come in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, Brinda.